A reading from Numbers. The rabble among them had a strong craving, and the Israelites also wept again and said, "If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt for nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dried up, and there is nothing at all. And they had to look at." Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, all at the entrances of their tents. Then the Lord became very angry, and Moses was displeased. So Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you treated your servant so badly? Why have I not found favor in your sight, that you lay the burden of all this people on me? Did I conceive all this people? Did I give birth to them that you should say to me, 'Carry them in your bosom, as a nurse carries a sucking child, to the land that you promised on oath to their ancestors?' Where am I to get meat to give to all this people? For they come weeping to me and say, 'Give us meat to eat.' I am not able to carry all these people alone, for they are too heavy for me. If this is the way you are going to treat me, put me to death at once, if I have found favor in your sight, and do not let me see my misery." So the Lord said to Moses, "Gather for me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tent of the meeting, and have them take their place there with you." So Moses went out and told the people the word of the Lord, and he gathered 70 elders of the people and placed them all around the tent. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took some of the Spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 elders. And when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but they did not do so again. 2 men remained in the camp, one named Eldad, the other Medad, and the Spirit rested on them. They were among those registered, but they had not gone out to the camp, and so they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and told Moses, "Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp." And Joshua, son of Nun, the assistant of Moses, one of his chosen men, said, "My lord Moses, stop them." But Moses said to him, "Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit on them." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And read Psalm 19 responsibly. The teaching of the Lord is perfect and revives the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure and gives wisdom to the simple.
The statutes of the Lord are just and rejoice the heart. The commandment of the Lord is clear and gives light to the eyes.
The fear of the Lord is clean and endures forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether.
More to be desired are they than gold, more than much fine gold. Sweeter far than honey in the home.
By them also is your servant enlightened, and in keeping them there is great reward.
Who can make back one's own offenses? Cleanse me from my secret faults.
Above all, keep your servant from presumptuous sins. Let them not get dominion over me. Then shall I be whole and sound and innocent of a great offense.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer.
A reading from James. Are any among you suffering? They should pray. Are any cheerful? They should sing songs of praise. Are any among you sick? They should call for the elders of the church and have them pray over them, anointing them with oil in the name of the Lord. The prayer of faith will save the sick, and the Lord will raise them up, and anyone who has committed sins will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another, so that you may be healed. The prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. Elijah was a human being like us, and he prayed fervently that it might not rain. And for 3 years and 6 months it did not rain on the earth. Then he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth yielded its harvest. My brothers and sisters, if any among you wanders from the truth and is brought back by another, you should know that whoever brings back a sinner from one will save the sinner's soul from death, and will cover a multitude of sins. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he was not following us." But Jesus said, "Do not stop him, for no one who does a deed of power in my name will be able soon after to speak evil of me. Whoever is not against us is for us. For truly I tell you, whoever gives you a cup of water to drink, because you bear the name of Christ, will by no means lose the reward. If any of you put a stumbling block before one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better for you if a great millstone were hung around your neck and you were thrown into the sea. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than to have two hands and to go into hell, to the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than to have 2 feet and be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to stumble, tear it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and to be thrown into hell, where their worm never dies and the fire is never quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good. But if salt has lost its saltiness, how can you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace with one another." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. Jesus, stop them. People are healing without permission. It sounds a little odd, doesn't it? Because when do we need to have permission to pray over someone? To pray and to help them? When did that start? Hold on to that question for a bit, because it's an important one. But first of all, I think we need to set the context to really get the power of this story. You see, Jesus and his inner circle, Peter, James, and John, the same John we hear about today, had just returned from the mountaintop. And there they had witnessed Jesus being transfigured. They met Moses and Elijah. It was a life-changing experience for these 3 disciples. And as they came down the mountain, they met a crowd, a very anxious crowd. And a man came forward and fell at Jesus' feet and said, "Jesus, help, because my son has been overcome by a spirit and he has convulsions. I asked your disciples here to help, but they couldn't do it." And Jesus mumbled in frustrations to his disciples, "Bring the child here. Let me see him." And the father pleaded with Jesus, "If you can do anything, please help him." And Jesus responded, "If I can do anything, do you doubt? All things are possible for the one who has faith." The father pleaded, "I have faith, Lord. Help my lack of faith." And with that, Jesus cast out the demon. After that, Jesus' disciples went down the road. And as they were talking, Jesus was telling them about his upcoming crucifixion, how he would be turned over to the hands of the Romans, how he would suffer, how he would die on a cross, and the 3rd day rise again. But the disciples were not paying attention. Instead, they were arguing about who was the greatest. And Jesus looked at them and said, "Get over it. If any of you want to be the best, get that out of your head now. If you want to be a servant, it requires humility and not pride." And slowly, John, one of that inner circle, one of those guys who was present at the Transfiguration, one who saw Moses and Elijah, one who Jesus deeply respected, said, Jesus, we got a problem. We saw people healing in your name, and we tried to stop them because they are not following us. Notice those pronouns. They were healing in your name, but they weren't following us. Now, do you see the irony in that story? They weren't following us. Had the disciples, especially John, not heard Jesus? Let's go back to where we started again. Jesus, people are healing in your name, and they don't have permission. It does sound odd, doesn't it? Since when do we need someone's permission to pray and to heal? When did that start? Well, our first reading, we certainly heard about that. Eldad and Medad, they were witnessing in the camp without permission. And Joshua came to Moses and said, "Stop them." And Moses had this wonderful reply, "Oh, I wish all people were the Lord's prophets." And we too can yearn for that. Oh, if we would all just bear witness to the saving love of Christ, so that we have no need for people like me, professional pastors, because we are doing Christ's work in our daily life. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But it doesn't happen because we are human. We see the life through our own eyes, and we think oftentimes it is the only way to see it. So what do you see in this picture? Would you see a square? Would you see a circle? Would you see a cylinder? It's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of our experience. It's all a matter of where we stand. We said it before, we live in a divided nation. So many things are just black and white, and we have lost the wonder to see things in their beauty, to see things as a beautiful tapestry, to see the vivid colors and the differences and the nuances. Have you ever said any of these things or thought any of these things? Because I stand here guilty, and I ask permission. What about if we say, you can't be a Christian if you have brown eyes, or you can't be a Christian if you have blue eyes? You can't be a Christian unless you have conservative values. You can't be a Christian unless you have liberal values. You can't be a Christian unless you are Lutheran, or Methodist, or evangelical, or you name it. What are the issues that divide us and say you can't be a follower of Christ unless? Because we so often think in absolutes like this. Jesus, people are helping in your name, and they don't think like I do. Jesus, are they wrong? Am I wrong? Can we both be right? Probably we can. That's why Jesus spoke to people and listened to people. Jesus listened to hear and to understand. We see the world through our own experiences, and then we can say, let me hear you talk about your differences and your experiences, so I can understand a different world. We all this challenge. Because the ELCA is a big tent. We welcome a variety of viewpoints on many issues, and that is good. It allows us to do very effective ministry throughout the world. But we are challenged to find ways to not only welcome people, but to honor them, especially people we don't agree with. And that is tough. We talked about how do we do that. Because there are things in our own faith that are not negotiable. It's good to have our firm convictions. But it's also important to listen to others, to understand where they are coming from and why their beliefs may be different. Not that we might change each other, but that we can live together with each other and to talk to one another. Now, this isn't a sermon on politics, but politics is a part of our daily life. I appreciate the action that Senator Flake took on Friday. We may or may not agree with it, but he showed that he heard that there was another side of the story. It showed that he heard what other people were saying. We don't know his motives, and it's not the place to discuss that, but it gives me a glimmer of hope. Hope that we might find a place to listen to one another, to honor and to respect them. Because we so often focus on those things that divide us. But the healing power of Jesus Christ is the greatest thing that unites us. The suffering, death, and resurrection of Christ unites us as one. So imagine if we were standing in this circle around the cross. What would you see? It would depend on where you're standing. If you're looking at it at the front, from a standard point of view, you would see a T. If you were looking at the cross from the side, you would see a line. If you were looking at the cross kind of from an angle, it might seem cattywampus. But for each of us, that cross is life-giving. Life that is meant to be shared. What if we were to say, Jesus, we saw people healing others in your name, and we didn't agree with them, but we gave them a hug, and we listened to them